Hey guys, I want to answer some of the really great questions that we had today. I appreciate the feedback. We had a couple questions regarding flat feet, plantar fasciitis, and tight calves. The good news is they are all connected, literally, and some of the things we can do for one apply to the other in this situation. Now, I'm not the type of person to tell you what to do without telling you the why behind why you're doing it. So we have our diagram of the foot here. And this is our plantar fascia along the bottom here. It connects to our calf muscles up this direction, runs all the way down along here, and then inserts into the head of our first metatarsal there. So what is plantar fasciitis? Well, they've actually figured out now that it's more a degenerative disease than it is, or degenerative condition, than it is inflammation. So there is inflammation involved, but that comes after the degeneration part. So the degeneration happens because the fascia down here gets stretched out. So it causes a minor strain down there in a few of those fibers. And that in itself isn't the end of the world, but now when we're running or putting some other type of repetitive stress on it, can start to cause issues, right? Because normal stress on normal tissue doesn't cause issue. Normal stress on abnormal tissue, now we have an issue. So when this plantar fascia down here is stretched beyond its limits, it becomes abnormal tissue. We add the repetitive stress to that, we generally get pain right around this area. Now, why might this be stretched out? Well, see this nice arch we have in our foot right here? What happens when we flatten out this arch, right? When the metatarsals come down and the tarsal bones come down here, it pushes our metatarsal head away from our leg. So when we push the insertion away, that stretches out the plantar fascia down there, can cause some of that strain that we're talking about, and then we put the repetitive stress of running or things of that nature on it. That's when we can get some discomfort. Now, good news, bad news with plantar fasciitis is it is a self-limiting condition, meaning generally symptoms will go away on their own. The bad news about that is it can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. So what are some things that we can do to expedite the process? Well, I'm going to show you here the first one, and you've probably heard of it, is called short foot. Great exercise. Two birds with one stone here. Increases the arch and then allows the plantar fascia to shorten and relax and takes a little bit of stress off that. While you've heard of short foot before, I just want to make sure that everybody's doing it correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that right here. Now, a couple of things to think about with short foot is we want our foot, planted firmly on the ground, and we don't necessarily want our toes super flexed for a starting position, but we do want to dig our tips of our toes into the ground. And when that happens, do you see how the first metatarsal head there, it comes up a little bit, right? And that accentuates that arch that we want here. So now we're engaging our intrinsic muscles there that help that arch. Now, one trick that I like with this is get a towel, or in this case I have a t-shirt, and lay it down on the ground there. We want to get in that nice starting position that we talked about, right? And then we want to think about contracting these intrinsic muscles to bring that arch up. And when that happens, our toes drag towards our body, our foot shortens this direction, our arch goes up a little bit. Hence the name short foot. But we're really concentrating on our intrinsic muscles here. So what we're doing is we're flexing these muscles, and the toes have no other choice but to follow in this direction. It's not just you're not grabbing with your toes here. You're starting here, and you're really thinking about picking that arch up off the ground. Now, why the t-shirt? Why the towel there? Well, Now mine's not cooperating very well in here because of the floor, but a good measurement or add a little bit of entertainment to this exercise is you want to scrunch the t-shirt or the towel up all the way underneath that foot, right? So we started out flat, get that nice starting point with the met head a little bit off the ground there, and then we're picking that arch up, and as we do that, we start to scrunch that towel or that t-shirt up underneath our foot there. So this exercise is great for if you just have flat feet, or if you have flatter feet with some plantar fasciitis stuff going on. Now to address the calf stretches. Luckily, these things are literally connected. So as we kind of touched on earlier, your calf muscles are connected to your plantar fascia, and when you have tight calves, they again pull up on that plantar fascia and can be part of the problem to why that plantar fascia is being stretched and being strained a little bit. So we definitely want to stretch our calves out as well. Now, my favorite type of stretching is called PIR stretching, or post-isometric relaxation. It's a technique of stretching that's a little bit more active than just your typical passive stretching techniques, and I've seen very good results with it. So I'm going to show you a couple of those calf stretches now. So I'm using my belt. You can use something elastic, but you don't want it too stretchy. You want it pretty firm, because we are going to do an isometric contraction here. So that means even though our muscle's contracting, we're not moving anywhere. So we want to be able to hold that foot in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my belt and wrap it around the metatarsal heads there. You want to make sure you're on the met heads and not up into the toes. So here I'm going to pull my foot up into as much dorsiflexion as I possibly can, and you'll feel a stretch in your calves at this point, but we're not done yet. We have to engage the calves and relax the calves to give them a chance to stretch out a little bit. So for this PIR technique, what it's going to be is it's going to be a deep breath in, you're going to hold, and you're going to do about a 30%, so 30 out of 100, isometric contraction with your calves. So in that case, what do your calves do, right? They plantar flex the foot. So you're not going to see any motion because it's isometric contraction, but during this, I'm going to do at about 30% strength. I'm going to be pushing with my foot this direction against the belt. So here I'm pulling into as much dorsiflexion as I have here. I'm going to take that deep breath in, hold it, and then for 3 seconds, I'm going to do that isometric contraction of my calves. So I'm going to relax, and then I'm going to pull back into my new end point of dorsiflexion. So now I can go a little bit further, right? Now we're going to start there. Deep breath in, hold, isometric contraction for 3 seconds, let it out. And again, the contraction only needs to be about 30% of the strength there. We don't need to be working too hard, but that relaxation after the isometric contraction gives you a chance to get your foot into more dorsiflexion, find that new end range. Now I typically do 3 sets of those in a row, or 3 reps of that in a row, probably 4 sets, until you really feel your calves nice and loose and you have a new end range with your dorsiflexion in your ankle there. Now that's one way to do it. Another way that I like to do it is just with your body weight. So to show you guys this, it's kind of like a calf raise. So I'm going to get comfortable here with your foot with the metatarsal heads elevated again, and now I'm going into dorsiflexion by just letting the weight of my body push my heel towards the ground, right? So again, we're doing the deep breath in, hold, and that 3-second isometric contraction of plantar flexion. So at about 30%, and then I'm dropping further into dorsiflexion. Now you can see I have a new end range there. So now I'm gonna do that one more time, and we're to a new end range there. feeling the nice stretch and relaxation back in that calf area. Either of those versions of the post-isometric relaxation stretch are great for the calf muscles. That short foot exercise is awesome to work on the arch in your foot and any plantar fasciitis issues you may be having. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask, and I would be more than happy to answer them.